And one of the big music stories from over the weekend is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which aired Saturday night on HBO. And I watched it. I thought it was lovely. I thought it was really good. It was another great year for music in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Having been there, though, there was a lot of things that they cut out that you didn't see or hear during the performance. So I'm going to share a bunch of those things with you right now. And I'm going to start with Stevie Nicks because she started the show. One of the things that she said that I found really interesting is she explained her journey and how difficult it was being in, because, she went from Buckingham Nicks right into Fleetwood Mac and had this desire to do her own solo material and sort of struggled with how to get there. And if you saw the ceremony or you're going to watch it on HBO, I'm not spoiling anything for you here, you'll see her explain how she was able to navigate that because she never wanted to leave Fleetwood Mac, but she did want to do her own thing for a little while there. And so she winds up name dropping Haim and, giving Haim a little advice. And that got cut from the final airing on HBO. I was pretty surprised. So the clip I'm going to play for you here, you actually got to hear the first part of it. And then they wound up snipping off the second part where she directly addresses Haim.
I'm hoping that since it's never happened to me, and now only once, 22 men in 0 women, and now 1 woman, that what I am doing is opening up the door for other women to go like, hey, man, I can do it. And I'm telling all my friends that, like the girls in Haim, I'm going, okay, you guys, you got to really get it together now. And like one of you needs to step away and don't break up your band. Just do an album so you have it because it's going to take 20 years before you will be recognized as, again. So you'll already be like 60. So you have to do it right now.
So, she's making fun of the fact that, it'll take 20 years more for you to get the recognition specifically, 20 years after Fleetwood Mac got the recognition. I thought that was kind of a funny thing to do. And it got a big laugh in the crowd that night. And I'm pretty surprised. And I kind of wonder why HBO would cut something like that. Because I thought it was a real nice, genuine moment. Generational, Haim's, one of those new, young, upcoming bands. Fleetwood Mac, and Stevie, just so established. She sounded so great, though, right? I was in it. The night for me personally was so crazy. Joe Show and I we were running back and forth. We were doing all these crazy things, and we were backstage. I would say 95% of the time. We only got to go in the front of house for a little bit, but I was in the room when Stevie started playing, and it was just like you just felt the electricity in that room. And that, I thought, translated to the HBO airing. I thought that was done really, really well. But she was great. And I thought Harry Styles was really good with her. And it was so cool to see Don Henley. They all sounded really good. Speaking of which, Bryan, Ferry, and Roxy Music in the house that night sounded terrible. I didn't even think I said that on the air when I got back that Monday. They were awful. I watched that show, it was like a completely different band, which kind of tells me that all the issues were in the mixing. I mean, it was a little hard to hear Bryan at times, but I don't know. I don't know what it was. I thought his voice was a little weak, but when I watched it there, again, maybe they mixed it up. Maybe they, enhanced his vocals a little bit. They sounded good. I thought they sounded good, way better than what we heard in the room that night. So whatever they did post production there, it worked because I thought Roxy Music came off sounding pretty good after, in the room that night. Not so much. Really, really not so much. And the other big drop for me that night was, and I was really excited about this because I love that Duran Duran shouted out WLIR. I grew up a fan all my life. LIR, NEW, right? Grew up around here in New York. Big fan of all those things. I try and carry some of those things with us still here to EHM. And the greatest compliment I get sometimes is when people are like, thank God you guys are around because I miss the old LIR, I miss the old NEW. That's a wonderful compliment for us here at EHM. So I was really, really excited when they got shouted out by Duran Duran. on stage. And then, in fact, back in the press room, we talked about that a little bit more. I played you those clips at the time. So I, got my popcorn and I'm watching. Here comes Duran Duran. They're about to do their induction, and boom, they cut the LIR part from the ceremony. I could not believe it. Here's the clip. We'll pick it up. This is what you did not hear during HBO's airing of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
And of course, I'm always proud to say that without Roxy music, there really would be no Duran Duran. For sure. Sad but true. Along the way, in the early 80s, we were inadvertently able to introduce Roxy to our young American audience. When radio stations like WLIR would play, would play both bands back to back.
I mean, it got an applause break. It got an applause break in the room. My only guess is they probably thought, well, that's just such a regional thing and people around the world are not going to get that. But I would argue that between the LIR documentary and people literally saying it for a really, really long time, people kind of know what WLIR is. And even if they don't know what WLIR is, you don't really need to know. It's, it's just, it was that radio, people would probably go look it up when they watch it. I don't know why they cut that out. I thought that was the best part. I really thought that was the absolute best part. If you watched it too, or if you're going to watch it because it's available on demand, watch David Byrne's portion when he's inducting Radiohead into the Hall of Fame. Because I said this after the show. I was just like, I don't know what it was. He was nervous or just hyper or whatever it was. But David Byrne's speech was so choppy. It was so just choppy and disoriented. And I was really curious to see how it was. So if you have on demand or whatever, if you want to go back and see this, take a look at all of the quick cuts in the David Byrne speech. Because they had there's like 7 cameras on you at one time when you're on that stage. They had a big boom camera. They had the uptight cameras. They had the faraway head-on camera. They cut between all of those because they were hiding the spaces, and he kind of mumbled a little bit in between some of the things. And I love David Byrne. This is not a criticism, but when you look at the work that goes into producing this show, I can't even tell you, you go and look at what he did on the Rock Hall. It was probably 4 or 5 minutes. He spoke for like 15 minutes. He was up there for like 15 minutes. There is just boom, 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 cut after cut after cut from different camera angles. It moves so quickly just to sort of hide some of those things. So not easy to produce that show, I would gather. But it was fun to be there in the room and then see the results, even though some of them were disappointing by some of the stuff that they cut out. I guess, I don't know if they worry about time or anything. Those shows usually go for really well over 3.5 hours, almost to 4. This year was a little bit different because you had a lot of people being honored that weren't performing, like Radiohead. Janet Jackson didn't perform as well. But everybody who did perform sounded really good on the broadcast, at least. Like I said, Roxy, not so much in the room, but post watching it at home, really, really good. Zombies, I thought, just really stole the show for me. They just sounded amazing. I really thought that they stole the night. Like, I knew Stevie Nicks was going to be that good. I knew what Def Leppard was going to sound like. There were no surprises there. The Zombies sounded exactly like they did back in the 60s. I mean, really, considering that was 50 some odd years ago, they have not lost any speed off of their fastball. They really, really haven't. So those are just some of the things that you didn't get to see on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We got a really awesome page, nice little blog for you guys to check out up at WEHM.com. And on Saturday night when the Rock Hall aired, we added a whole bunch more content, a lot more photos that we haven't put out previously, just to kind of give you guys some new stuff to look at. Susanna Hoffs backstage, some angles of Fleetwood Mac, which, by the way, really go check that out because you'll see the moment that Christine McVie was dancing behind Stevie Nicks' back. Not trying to drum up drama here. I'm just saying, last we heard, the last straw where Lindsay got fired was because he was dancing behind Stevie's back at the Music Cares thing. And here we are backstage in the press room. Harry Styles and Stevie Nicks were on stage first in the press room. They spoke. And then Harry went off. Stevie spoke for a little bit. And then Fleetwood Mac, the rest of the band, sans Neil Finn, I don't know why he was just left at the table, came up on stage, and we have shots of this. You can see it. And then as people were kind of, they took their picture and they did their little bow. And then they were kind of like walking off stage. Christine made this like face with her lip. Like she made like duck lip face and did this like little dance. We have a shot of it. You can see it. I just thought it was kind of odd. Kind of odd since that cost Lindsay his gig in the band. So I don't know. You tell me what you make of that. You can go see it right now at wehm.com. We have the links right there.